I embrace the opportunity of dropping you a few lines.
I take my pen in hand to write to you.
I can inform you that I am well.
I now take the opportunity of writing to you.
Dear father and mother, brothers and sisters, wife and child, one and all, I send you a few lines.
So begin the dozens of letters written by James N. Henderson to his family in Haywood County while serving in the Army of the Confederate States. An early letter written to his uncle, George Washington Henderson, is dated March 20th, 1861.
This is less than a month after the seceded Southern states appointed Jefferson Davis as their president, and 16 days after Abraham Lincoln took the oath as President of the United States. From his farm in the Forks of Pigeon, James writes,
Uncle, I get back to you again. I'm glad to hear you're a Union man. It is my notion that Uncle William is one of the strongest Union men in this part of the world. I do not think that North Carolina will secede from the Union, and I don't want her to. And if my vote will prevent it, they shall have it. And if we have to go to war, it's a pity how those high-headed office seekers, barroom men, was not put in the front of the battle.
2 months later, North Carolina secedes from the Union following Virginia and Arkansas. 19 days later, Tennessee joins the Confederacy. In an undated letter, James writes,
I am doubtful that we will all have to go to defend our country. They are making up several companies and say that there is a draft, provided they cannot get volunteers enough.
the Confederate draft will not come until April of the next year, when the one-year enlistment term of the first recruits is about to expire.
all healthy white men, 18 to 35 years of age, are eligible for conscription for a 3-year term. All terms for existing soldiers are extended to 3 years. James was in this last group, having joined the 15th Volunteers within 2 months of the North Carolina secession. His unit became the 25th Regiment, with Haywood County residents forming Company F.
Camp Patton, July 24th, 1861. Dear wife, I now take the opportunity of writing to you. I can inform you that I have been well ever since I left. I hope these few lines find you well. There is 10 companies here now. There is 5 in my mess. Uncle William Henderson, my 2 brothers, and William Vance. I can't tell you when we will leave here. It may not be very long. I will come home before I leave you without we are rushed off before I know anything about it. Remains yours truly until death, J.M. Henderson.
Letters to and from Camp Patton continued over the summer, while in Virginia, first blood was shed at the First Battle of Bull Run, also known as the First Battle of Manassas. Federal troops were routed in what was described as the Great Skedaddle, while reporters, U.S. congressmen, and civilians on picnic from Washington watched from the hillside. During the battle, the commander of a Virginia brigade, Brigadier General Thomas Jackson, earned the nickname Stonewall.
I can inform you there has never been such a time in Camp Patton as there was last night. The news was that in less than 48 hours, Old Abe will be in the hands of the Southern Confederacy. I did make out
your letter, but it was a hard bargain. I would be glad you would get H. Bug to write for you. I want to be remembered by all of you. I desire your prayers while I'm gone. If you can, send me a pair of socks. I will be glad. Dear husband, me and the child is well at the present, hoping that these few lines will find you enjoying the same lesson. I want to see you. If you can't come, I want you to send the little boy a hat by Uncle Jake. I remains your affectionate wife, Maria Henderson.
I suppose it's great news. We got back from town 5 minutes after 1 o'clock in the night. I hear Johnson and Beauregard are going to take the city of Wilmington right off, so it is good if the report is true. Things will be made right if there is 8,000 men from England being sent to Charleston, Washington now.
2 months later, the Union Navy seized 2 Confederate diplomats sailing to England. A diplomatic standoff with the British government ended with President Lincoln stating, "One war at a time," as he ordered their release.
Dear husband, I would be glad to see you, but you have no chance of coming home anymore. I want you to send me your likeness, if you please. We are ready to receive your letter anytime. I love you.
Camp Patton was located on James Patton's property on Charlotte Street. Son Thomas, a captain in the Confederate Army, built a house on the corner of Charlotte and Chestnut Streets after the war. Known as the Patton-Parker home, the house is now a law office.
On September 10th, James wrote his parents from Camp Clingman, now Aston Park on French Broad Avenue. The 25th Infantry Regiment marched for 6 days from there to the nearest railway hub, Ickard Station. Most of the soldiers were about to see their first steam engine and railway track.
Burke County, North Carolina. Tonight, we stay 105 miles from you at the head of the railroad below Morganton. The cars is here ready to move off with us in the morning. I stood my traveling the best I could so far. I want to see you and the child the worst kind. But it ain't worthwhile to study about it if I can't help it, because I can't help it. Nor I don't intend to try.
A 5-day journey to Wilmington followed, with a stop in Raleigh where the troops were issued uniforms. They received muskets when they arrived at Camp Davis on Mitchell Sound.
Henry Bugg, James's stepfather, wrote to his family in the regiment in mid-October, "Dear and beloved sons and brothers, it affords me great opportunity and the privilege of informing you that we are all well at present, thank God. I understand that you are in the land among the living. I would be glad to see you all one time more on this earth. I want you to write if you have plenty to eat and to wear or not. We are all in hopes that we will succeed in the South."
New Hanover County, Camp Davis. Dear wife, I hope these few lines will find you and the child well and satisfied. I hasn't heard from you since I left Asheville. We was up to get our money today, but the paymaster didn't come. When I get it, I will send it to you to keep till I can't do without it. I must give you a small history of this part of the old sweet state. The sand is about
shoe-mouth deep in places. As to the growth, there is nothing but pine. The rest, nothing worth naming. The poor folks live on sweet potatoes and goober peas and oyster and fish. Their hogs look like they had never seen an ear of corn. The cows are small and the chickens is about the size of partridges and sells for 20 cents. Sweet potatoes from 80 cents to $1 for a bushel, and fish is a cent apiece. None of my mess is not buying nothing. We're going to try and save our money if we ever get any. We have had enough to eat so far. If we fare no worse than we have fared, we will do modest well. I heard some of the companies complaining about having nothing to eat. We have cornbread, bacon, coffee, sugar, beef, and the wheat bread we draw already baked in small light loaves. I don't think it's got any salt or grease in it. Though I like it
first rate. A few about the Yanks. I heard 10 or 15 cannons fire yesterday, and we hear them often. I reckon it's to see how they will shoot. It is thought that they want to land at the mouth of the Cape Fear River, 25 miles from here. It is said that there could be 15 to 16,000 men fetched to this place in 6 hours. That many can do something, I think. Enough of that for the present. Dear companion, I want you to try and make all you can, for it will be needed. Times is going to get hard. I want you to have all the wheat sowed that you can. Don't rent out the place till spring. It might happen that I will get to tend it. I send a few lines to your mother and father. We desire to be remembered by you all, and I will pray for you and for myself. For this world is a howling wilderness filled with trouble and sorrow. I have saw more since I left Asheville than I ever expected.
James's regiment moved to the defense of the South Carolina coast and camped near Grahamville most of the winter, doing picket duty, drilling, and building fortifications. Letters flowed back and forth between the Carolinas.
Dear husband, it is with much pleasure that I take the present opportunity of informing you that I have sent you 3 letters and have got nary an answer. Now, I heard once that you was sick, but I don't know whether it was so. More than that, I heard that you was dead. I am staying at home taking care of my things as best I can, and have saved all my fodder and corn and has got it all nicely put away. My corn made 62 bushels, and I don't need anything but shoes, and I can't get them. Corn, 50 cents, wheat, $1 per bushel. I have got me some wheat seed, and I found 2 of my hogs that I thought was dead. Fat hogs are selling at 70 cents a gross.
January 20th, 1862. Dear wife, it is with pleasure I write you that I am still on the mend. I have had the measles, and I am back with them. I was so I could walk from the fire to my bed, but I can't now. Though, if I have no bad luck, I can in a few days. I want you to put out a large garden, cabbage and other things, potatoes, peas, if you can get them. I will try to help you tend it. I have 4 months more to serve, and then I think I will be a free man again. It is said that we will be set free by the 15th of May.
Dear husband, I hope and trust in God that time will soon roll around and we can meet here on earth if we are permitted. I want to know whether you got them socks I sent you.
Haywood County, dear sons, we are all doing the best we can, but the times is hard here and will be. Corn is scarce and pork or bacon from 16 to 20 cents per pound. Salt is out of the question. There is none to be bought at any price.
People don't seem to have any heart to work. For the most of them, they think they'll have to go to the war this spring. We will have to trust to Providence until your time is out. Your affectionate father and mother.
Dear wife, a few lines to let you know that I'm still on the mend and I can walk about. I have a good house to stay and a good place to sleep and all kinds of fine nourishment. Everyone is kind to me.
Letters from North and South Carolina describe life in the camp and at home, news of the war and a flurry of rumors. February 1862 ends with the first major Union victory. Confederate Forts Henry on the Tennessee River and Donelson on the Cumberland are captured by troops under the command of U.S. Unconditional Surrender Grant.
Dear sons, we hear there are some Yankees in Tennessee and they have been repulsed. I hope you can get the news more than I can.
Your little boy is well and saucy. I have 4 of the hogs at home now in the field. I'm going to fatten 2 of them. I bought the cow from Rebecca Randarmer. I'll give $14 for it.
William Fires died last Friday night with a fever. There's several cases of it in camp yet. It is dangerous.
My kind brothers, our cousin Janet Henderson got drowned at the footlog above young Jesse Anderson, and she was buried on yesterday. James wrote to me not to marry until you come home. I don't expect to marry without I get a soldier. All of the young men that is here are all Tories, and I would be afraid to have them for a husband for fear that they would let the Yankees come and kill me. Your affectionate sister until death, Margaret E. Bug.
The doctor sent me to the camps this morning. I'm afraid that I ain't able to stay in the camps yet or not. I will take care of myself as well as I can. You wanted to know if I got them socks you sent me? I got them. I have 5 pairs now. I'm in moderate health, though I'm very weak. I have 2 or 3 months, and when I get home, I will try to stay there a while. Some think they're going to disband us now. I don't think they will until our commission is out. We have to start to New Bern tonight at 11 o'clock. It helps me up to think that I'm getting back to the old North State.
They left Grahamville that night, but before they reached New Bern, the city had fallen. They met retreating troops in Kinston, North Carolina, where they went into camp with 4 other regiments.
I stood my trip very well. We was 4 days of coming to Kinston and then moved back toward Goldsboro. One fine thing is, the 24th of June will set me free.
The coming draft will add 24 months to his service.
Dear brothers, reports say that Kentucky has gone back to the Union and is thought that Tennessee will before long. If it does, we will be a close time. That is sure as I am here today.
Your boy is well and says everything is popping. He's as pert as a cricket and as fat as a pig. I was sorry to hear you was taken with the mumps. I hope they will be light with you. It is hard that 12 months indentures have to stay 2 years longer. If you have to stay, I hope and trust that God will enable you to get home. I have got some of everything planted and my corn has come in and took very well. Times is hard here and don't appear like getting any better. Plenty of wheat has the rust. If wheat should fail, starvation is at hand. I can't give you any more good news from here for the future, but we must hope for the better. I hope to God there will be peace.
Camp Johnston, I can inform you that we got orders to move. I think it is to go to Trenton below here. You must send your letters to Kinston, and then they will get them there for us.
7 days later, the 25th arrived in Richmond, Virginia, and almost immediately marched toward the front at 7 Pines on the Williamsburg Road. According to 2nd Lieutenant Garland Ferguson, regimental historian, the 25th had at last come in hearing of the true music of war.
Dear Richmond, I can inform you that we had a battle the day before yesterday and yesterday. Nary a one killed in our company. William Franklin killed in Company C and several crippled. We killed a good many of those Yankees. I can't say when we'll get into it again. Maybe before tonight.
The Battle of 7 Pines, May 31st, 1862, was a major setback for Union General McClellan's campaign to take Richmond. The Confederate Army was able to retake their defensive positions around their capital city. The regiment was under fire again at Malvern Hill in the 7 days battles between troops led by Lee and McClellan. Losses were heavy on both sides, and both claimed victory.
State of Virginia. I'm well at present, but very much wearied and fatigued at marching. My weight is 137 when I was 165 or 170 before I took sick. I am glad and thankful to come out safe. We have had hard days for the last 15. First of our time, a laying in the swamps, and part of fighting and a marching. I don't fancy the balls and gun shells flying as thick as hell around my head.
After Malvern Hill, the regiment went into camp for a time at Drury's Bluff near Richmond. The exposure and exhaustion troops suffered in battle led to widespread illness. 81 members of the regiment died.
Camp of the 25th, Virginia. Through the mercies of the divine providence, I am still alive, but I have been unwell for about a week. I heard from Brother Jerry a few days ago. He is still improving at Wilson in North Carolina. I received the socks, in which I heartily thank you. I had lost all my socks and was needing a pair. Let me know if you got the $50 I sent you by Josie Brookshire.
Haywood County. I have been in great distress hearing that she was so low with the fever. When Colonel Joseph Cathy returned home from there, he brought the news that he had, but very little hope of you recovering. And so, one thing and then with another, I almost thought, in my own imagination, that I was almost a widow, and in fact, heard that she was dead. It gave me great satisfaction to hear that she was still alive and on the mend.
The 25th and the entire Ransoms Brigade were attached to Brigadier General John G. Walker's division in the Maryland campaign. This was the first engagement of Confederate troops across the Potomac in Northern Territory. At Harper's Ferry, the regiment was placed at Loudon Heights to prevent the escape of Union soldiers. At Sharpsburg, they were put into action near the extreme left of Lee's line.
Dear wife, I embrace the opportunity of drafting you a few lines. I am in Virginia at Glade Springs Depot. The captain has gone to the salt works to engage salt. We will leave here at 2 o'clock in the morning. I heard from the boys that they was on the march toward Culpeper Courthouse. Give the folks my best. I've been in a fight. If you could see all, and if I could see you, I think I could tell you something. To see men lying around me and some hollering, I'm killed. Some crying out, I am wounded. I heard that there was 1,500 Yankees who went to Petersburg and gave up. The report is that we lost 1,500 and the North lost 3,000.
September 17, 1862 is America's bloodiest day of battle, called the Battle of Sharpsburg by Confederate troops, and Antietam by the Union. There were over 25,000 casualties, with the outcome a draw. McClellan considered it a Union victory when Lee's army fell back to Virginia to regroup. Based on these results, and President Lincoln's issuing the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, France and Britain held back on their planned recognition of the Confederacy.
James's letters write of a visit home. Sometime in the early winter of '62, he traveled from Virginia to Haywood County, and after his leave, returned to his regiment.
Camp near Fredericksburg. I've got the worst cold I nearly ever had in my life, a sore throat. I think it's by walking hard all the way through the rain and then lying without any tent, and it rains all night on us. I'm getting better. I want to see you both as bad as I did before I went home. I walked for 10 days of coming to the regiment. You needn't write till I write where you're to write to. Dear wife and child,
I seat myself down to write you a few lines in which you may know that I am as well as when I left home. I want you to send me a few things, if you please. I want you to find me some apples, some dried fruit, and if you've got it, send me some jam butter in your aunt's big bottle full of honey or brandy. If you will send the things, I will thank you 1,000 times.
The regiment spent the winter of '62 in Fredericksburg in shelters made from pine brush. On December 11 and 12, it was in position behind Marie's house at the base of the heights. On the morning of the 13th, They were ordered to reinforce General Cobb's troops, holding a line in front of the house. In less than 2 minutes, the regiment's loss in killed and wounded was 120. They reached Cobb's line just as his men were emptying their last cartridge. Repelling 6 successive assaults, they held until relieved at nightfall.
Camp near Fredericksburg. I am proud and thankful to God that I can say to you that I went through the fight safe and unhurt. I thought that I heard balls and gun shells whip by, but I had never heard them as half as thick as when our regiment went about a half mile through an open field. There is 107 wounded in the old 25th and 15 killed. The Yankees have left Fredericksburg, and I don't know whether there will be any more fighting to do here or not.
There were 5,300 Confederate and 12,600 Union casualties in the Battle of Fredericksburg, 2/3 of them in front of the 25th Regiment's position. Watching the fighting from the heights, General Lee said, "It is well that war is so terrible, lest we should grow too fond of it."
I haven't heard from you since I left home. I can't say that I'm hearty. I could eat all that I draw for a day's ration at one meal if I were to try. I make it out well by drying some cornmeal that I have to pay $1 for 3 quarts. I hope that peace will be made soon, so I can get home where there's
I can get plenty to eat. Dear wife and child, it is with no small degree of pleasure that I seat myself this Christmas morning to address you with a few lines which will show that I am well. I hope these lines may reach your kind hand and find you both a doing well.
I think I would have given more to have been at home this morning than anything else. Hugs and kiss my little boy for me. I didn't look like that a man could have went through where we went without getting killed or wounded. But if God pleases and spares me, I fear not any balls that the Yankees can shoot.
Dear husband, it is no small degree of pleasure I take up pen in hand and write you. Me and your little boy as well. My dear, I have received letters from you, but I didn't know where to write.
With the turn of the year to 1863, James and his brothers, Jerry and Tillman, traveled with the 25th Regiment from Fredericksburg back to North Carolina and were stationed in Kenansville, Wilmington, and Kinston. In June, they will march back toward the Virginia border. Their brother John, known as J.H., is stationed in Tennessee.
Even with these many relocations, over 80 letters have traveled between Haywood County and Confederate camps in 1863. They include hopes that the war will end, life in camp and at home, of duty and service, and faith in God.
I will be glad to leave old Virginia. If I have to be killed a fighting, let me be killed in my own state. I started you $50 some time ago by Mr. Jamie Killian to be sent to you to Mr. Cabot. Send your letters to Petersburg and they will come to me. You said that you thought you'd have to buy 15 bushels of corn. Well, you better buy it shortly before it gets any higher. You wrote that you had more money than I left you with. I don't want you to need for anything as long as I can help it.
We have moved at last to Wilmington, about 3 miles below the town, close to the Cape Fear River. I was down to the river today and heard them shoot the cannon off. There has come 5 English vessels to Wilmington now. I heard that 1 or 2 is loaded with salt.
Salt is often mentioned in the letters of soldiers and home folk. It was a valued commodity, not as a seasoning for a bland meal, but as a necessary ingredient to preserve meat.
Brother, God speed the time when peace is to be restored to this our land and country, which was once free and independent. Will we ever be as independent as we once was? Think of your dearest brother, who is many miles from you and no brother to talk with to pass off the time. John W. Bug.
I'm tired of this distracted and unprofitable war, which is separating many friends and family, that is for no profit under the shining canopy of heaven. This war can't last always. I long to see the time when the stars and stripes will fall from the collars and the sleeves of the big men, and every dog can shake his own tail.
Dear nephews and one and all, there's nothing strange or of interest going on here, only talk of peace. Everybody seems very much interested in that. Times is very hard here. Anything like provisions, very high and hard to get. Give my best regards to all my friends there. William Henderson.
I'm well, and I'm doing the best I can to march as much as what we have to march. About 100 miles for the last week. We don't get half rations. We get bread enough to do, but we don't get a quarter a pound of meat a day. Rations that's too slim for a man to live on and march as hard as we do. We have got Washington surrounded, and I suppose that there is between 7,000 and 8,000 Yankees in the place, and we have got 10,000 or more here. They have been shelling the town today. I don't think we'll get in a fight. Our men will have to shell it or starve them out until the Yankees have to surrender.
The Battle of Washington, North Carolina, also known as the Siege, took place from March 30 to April 20, 1863, a part of Longstreet's Tidewater operations. Although the Southerners failed to dislodge the Federals, they would succeed in April of 1864, only to relinquish the city once more in November.
Take good care of my little man, who I study about so much. I was glad to hear that he was well, but sorry to think that he talks about me so much and can't get to see me. I'll send you my old letters home. I don't want to burn them, and I don't want to throw them away. I can't carry them.
Camp Carter Depot, Tennessee, May 2nd, 63. Dear brother, since I last wrote to you, we have moved about 100 miles north of the Strawberry Plains, but still on the railroad. The things are very backward in putting out this spring. I don't see if anybody has planted any corn here yet.
I want to see you. No tongue can express how bad. May God be with the head leaders and cause them to make peace. I've had a sad scene to relate to you that I witnessed today. Our brigade and General Daniel's brigade was marched together to see two men shot for desertion. We was formed, and then they was marched out before us with their coffins. There was a squad of men close to them, and they had to get down on their knees. And then they were both shot. Poor men are gone, and I suppose left a family to the wide world. I'm sorry for the widows, the poor little orphan children. I can say to you that I never could bear the idea of deserting, and if I had, seeing this would have banished the idea of it. I don't want to witness such a sight anymore.
My dear and kind husband, I feel tired today, for I have been planting corn. I trust the good Lord will give me strength to make some corn, for the men is all gone, but for the old fellows that can't help themselves hardly, and the women.
Dear nephew, I set myself to drop you a few lines in answer to your kind letter. Give my best respect to Brother William. I received a letter from Jacob. He's had the measles and then took pneumonia. He's been very low, but is on the mend. but I am uneasy about my dear husband, Rachel Sellers.
We heard that the Yankees was advancing on the 56th Regiment, and we got orders to march down there. Innocent as lambs, we was sent about 200-300 yards on the railroad. In less time than 5 minutes, they was a-shooting nearly all around us, and we couldn't get to where the rest of the regiment was. The
Colonel said that he thought that he could take us out. He took off and us after him through the swamp and canebrakes for about 2 miles, the worst place I nearly ever went. Then we came to open woods and we came back up to our old camp, rested a few minutes, and we got orders to start again. We went on till late in the night. Then the Yankees was a-retreating.
They took over 100 prisoners out of the 56th Regiment. They only got 4 or 5 out of the 25th. None out of our company, except for W.H. Williams. He left us Saturday about 12 o'clock. I don't see any chance for him to be taken a prisoner without he went to them. I don't pretend to say that he did, or that he ran away, for I don't know what has become of him.
Dear wife and child, I can inform you that we have got back to Virginia again. I understand that we start to Fredericksburg in the morning. I hope God will provide for us, that we may not have so much hard marching and fighting to do as we did when we was here before. Direct your letters to Richmond. They will come to me no matter where I go.
We ain't heard Williams yet. The rest of our regiment that was taken prisoners exchanged and came back. If he ain't tried to go home, I can't tell what has become of him. I have served my country 2 years, and I am awfully afraid that 2 years more will find me in service. But if it does, I will stay until my locks turn gray before I will desert. I hope that God will give you health and strength and refreshing showers.
The Confederate Army had several victories, including the Battle of Chancellorsville and General Lee's success at Winchester. Lee was optimistic of total victory until the tide turned in early July at Gettysburg, where he led his last assault in the North. The Confederate control of the Mississippi River was lost with the surrender of Vicksburg, Mississippi, on the 4th of July, 1863.
Dear brother, it always cheers me from sad thoughts to receive a letter from one of my brothers that is in the troubledness of this war. We are stationed on the railroad 10 miles below Knoxville. We have a bridge to guard on the Hiawassee River. This is a very fine country. Most of the boys is well pleased with our location. There are some very pretty girls in this part of the Confederacy. I expect I will fall in love with some of them if we stay here very long.
Dearest, times is hard here. The money will not fetch anything to eat. I can't get anything, only from my work. You wanted to know about Williams. I think he's at home with his wife's actions. She seems to enjoy herself.
August 1863. We are marching so much, we ain't got anything to cook in, and we have to buy food until we get back to the camp where we can get enough to eat. It takes nearly all the money that I draw to keep me from suffering. It takes money too fast for a private. The Lord has blessed us with a minister. I'm well, only I feel sleepy and drowsy since we've got a revival up. I'm at the meeting about every night, and it's midnight before I get to lay down. And then I have to get up before sunrise for roll call. I could afford to stay up more than I do if it would be the means of saving one single soul. The meeting is a breaking up card playing. Some of the worst men in the regiment has burned their cards. There's some
talk of our regiment being sent back to Asheville to take up deserters, but I can't think that there's any such good luck for us. William Sellers was going home and I gave him 2 buttons for my boy Drayton. Tell him he must ask his cousin for them and he must send me an apple.
During the fall and winter of 1863, the 25th Regiment was stationed at Garrisburg to check the advances of Union troops on the North Carolina coast. On the Georgia-Tennessee border, Confederate troops drove the Union Army back to Chattanooga in the Battle of Chickamauga.
We are close to Weldon yet, but we've got orders to move. The prospect is tolerable for some of us to get to go back to the mountains. And when we get there, then I reckon I will get to see you.
In October, a detachment of the regiment under Lieutenant Colonel Bryson returned to western North Carolina. James was not a member of the unit. Outnumbered 20-1, the detachment suffered heavy losses in an engagement at Hot Springs in Madison County.
I can inform you that we marched out to the railroad a few days ago to see President Jefferson Davis pass the road on the cars. We gave him an artillery salute by firing several cannons as he passed by.
I can't get you a coverlet for less than $35 or $40. I have not got enough money to get one at any price. If a good thick blanket will do, I will send you one. You wanted to know how many hogs I have. I have got but one, and I will have to kill it for getting in Osborne's field. My cow had a fine heifer calf, and doing well.
Maria, you need not send me a blanket, for I've had good luck of drawing me a good heavy one. Dear, I want you to write me a great long letter and see that you can write something new or something that is good news.
October the 12th, 1863. Dear brother, the corn crops in Haywood is about half frostbit, so I fear that the people is going to suffer for the want of bread. Brother, we again have orders to start back to Old Tennessee. We will go and gain our command, and if we are called on to face the enemy, we will do that and fight like wildcats if we don't get scared and run. But I hope some of us can face the foe on the field of battle.
Brothers, I can inform you that Jacob and John was taken prisoner at Cumberland Gap. I can't tell where they are going. There is an outfit defending at Bull's Gap, but I believe the Yanks will hold Tennessee in spite of all that they can do. There is 3 Yankees to 1 Southern man. Love, sister.
You don't know how bad I want to see you. I saw you and Mother last night, but when I woke up, you were gone. I can see you and some of my family very often in a dream, but that does me no good, and I will hush about dreaming without I believe in it.
Dear brothers, I would love to see you and talk with you about your travails and your pain in this time of war. For I know you boys have seen some very hard times since you started.
Dearest one, I can inform you that I am as well and hearty as I ever was in my life. I weigh more than I have in 6 or 7 years. My weight is 170. I will send my
little boy a Yankee cup and a little book, and I will send you a paper of 280 pins. They cost 150 cents. I will send you $15 and more when I draw. The next time, I will get my compensation for the clothes that I didn't take up last year. I have got plenty of good clothes, good shoes, and a good blanket. I want to know if you and the child has got good shoes this winter.
I am made to rejoice to think of the way you are trying to live. I am proud to think that you are trying to live nearer to the Lord than you ever have been.
My dear and kind husband, through the kind mercies of God, I am permitted to write you a few lines. The little boy says he wants to see you and kiss you. He talks a great deal about you. He grows very fast.
The health of our regiment is good at present. All the boys is lively. We've got us a church house nearly finished. I can't do much of it myself for the 2 last days. I came very nearly getting killed the other day.
One end of a log fell on me. We was throwing them off the wagon. It made me a little sore. It makes me feel a little stupefied and lazy. I will be all right in a few days. I am able for duty.
I started Aunt Rachel a few lines the other day about Uncle Jacob being dead. I wrote to her that I saw it in the paper. I did not know whether you had heard about it or not. I'm sorry to say that we got orders to move. We have to cook 2 meals rations, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have to go to Lee's army in Virginia. I'm sorry that we have to leave here, for we are well fixed. We have a good tent and a good chimney built to it, and a grate. Dear, as soon as we stop, I will write and tell you and let you know where we are. I don't know where I'm going, so goodbye for the time.
Thank you very kindly for my pins. I have tolerable good shoes, and the child has good ones. My corn is spoiled for making bread. I have to buy. There's going to be the hardest time you've ever seen in your life.
We are about 3 miles nearly north of Petersburg. We have a fairly good place to camp, but there is some hope of us to get back to Weldon again. I don't hear any talk of us getting into a fight unless we have to go to northern Virginia to Lee's army. My dear,
I want you to write and let me know where your brother John and J.H. Buck both are. I'm very sorry to hear that your corn was all frostbit. I will send you some more money as soon as we draw. I got the apples. I thank you very kindly for them.
I hear that the Yankees say that they will be able to see Haywood folks at Christmas. And if they get Haywood, I don't know what better to do than to go home. If they get you, they'll have to get me with you. For I can't stay here and fight, you and the child in Yankees' lines.
Headquarters, Jackson Brigade, dear brothers. We've had some very hard marching for the last 30 days and no nights of getting rest. We are now about 35 miles below Bristol, Tennessee, and it's thought that we will march down towards Knoxville. We are under General Ransom. I hope we will get shut of him very soon, for he's not worth his room in hell. For he will march his men until they drop dead in the road. John W. Bugg.
We've got back to Weldon again, in our old camp. But I can't say how long we'll stay, for we got orders to be ready to move in a minute's warning.
With the arrival of 1864, the 25th Regiment continued to occupy their camps in Weldon, near the North Carolina-Virginia line. They will not see much hard service until the spring. After the Battle of Chattanooga in November, when General Grant ended a 2-month siege, the rest of the winter saw skirmishes, but no major battles. The Confederate defeat in Tennessee opened the South for General Sherman's Atlanta campaign.
James and Maria and their families continued to write of their hopes for the war's end, reports and rumors of troop movement, shortages, spring plantings, and the simple joys in a pretty day, a packet of pins and a pair of socks.
I'm guarding the bridge across Roanoke River in Weldon. I'm afraid that the enemy will destroy western North Carolina, and the Tories will run over the county and destroy everything that the people have got and leave them to suffer.
The cavalry here is destroying everything and are doing no good. They are pressing corn and cattle and meat till if there isn't something done, then our own men will starve us out. I hope all will come home and leave the big men to fight it with themselves.
Snow started here the other night, and it froze into a perfect sheet of ice. The weather is very cold now, though it's clear and the sun is shining pretty today. Dear, I heard that you were nearly
barefooted, and I have got a pair of shoes that I think will fit you. I will send them, and my blue uniform coat and 9 eagle buttons in the pocket. I have not wore the coat more than 1 day on inspection. If I get home, I want to wear it then. It is charged to us at $12. You can get $25 for it, you may sell it. I
I
heard
heard
that
that
the
the Tories gave the malingerers a whipping out there and killed a good many. I don't know how true it is. I hope it's not as bad as I heard.
If this war should continue any longer than spring, it is thought that North Carolina will go back to the Union.
Dear nephew, I set myself to write you a few lines in answer to your kind letter. You must excuse me for not writing sooner, for I have had so much trouble. I cannot write as I wish, to write the loss of my dear Jacob. I look all around and I see where I have seen him walk so often. It all must break my heart to think that I never can see my loving husband no more on this earth. Maria and the little boy is well. She stayed with me last week and is going to stay some more. Give my love to Cousin William. Rachel Sellers.
I received a letter from Brother John. He is well. It was on March. They did not know where they was going unless it was to reinforce Longstreet or to the Cumberland Gap. He says they see hard times in Tennessee now. I'm truly glad to hear that your Brother John is not dead. I hope for that they may be treated while prisoners, and I will send you
a finger ring that I made myself, and I want you to wear it. Think of them that made it. I hollowed it for your lovely hand. There are 6 or 7 boys run away now in a few days. One was Arthur Lauder. He was John Burnett's substitute.
It is hard times, for we are drawn up with the cold and pinched with hunger and frustrated in mind. No satisfaction for a soldier.
I know how a man feels to be away from home and friends, for I have tried it for nearly 2 years, and now they are trying to get all the soldiers to re-enlist. I will not, unless I can choose my command and go to it. If they will, I will serve as long as anybody.
March 21st. The captain is trying to get off 2 more of us, and now I am the first man to get a furlough. I want to go home very bad. Home is a delightful place, but I fear that it will be a long time before I get to stay there in peace. Peace. Peace, peace. That delightful word, peace.
James returned home to visit in April 1864. A letter written from Camp Vance in Burke County on May 6 tells of his return trip, spending a night in Asheville sleeping in the courthouse, marching 35 miles in 2 days, a wagon ride and a train trip with a draw of 2 days' rations.
Brothers, I have no news of much importance more than General Longstreet is going out of Tennessee with his army. I guess he's going to Richmond, as they are expecting a big fight there shortly. If we get whipped there, we will be ruined set of men. News from home is they have conscripted all men between the age of 18 and 45 and sent them to camps somewhere in North Carolina.
May 17th. We came to Virginia as fast as the cars would bring us. We are between Petersburg and Richmond tonight. We have been in a very hard fight, 4 or 5 days, and our company suffered very bad. 7 men wounded, 1 killed. May 21st, we are yet in the line of battle. We have got the Yankees drove back nearly to their gunboats. They have large breastworks thrown up, and if we have to charge there, we will suffer. I climbed a tree
yesterday, and I could see their camps and tents and wagons and men aplenty. We have whipped them so far, and I trust to God that we may be successful all the time. I am blessed with this privilege of writing to you this good Sabbath evening. We are still alive here, 8 days out of 10 in sight of the enemy. We are looking for a hard fight tomorrow, being the 4th of July. Captain Cathy told me that he saw you hoeing corn as hard as you could. He told me that you said that you was well, and you would write to me, but you had not the time and the chance.
The Yankees shell us some, and Our men show them there is but little harm. I'm afraid that lying in entrenchments here in the hot sun will kill us all. July 17th. Dear wife, I cannot describe my feelings to you. The sad news that your letter stated the death of your brother John. There was 4 of us in service, which I was delirious for us to all meet at home one more time. But it was the will of God to call him away from our unfriendly world. The Lord giveth, the Lord taketh. Blessed be the name of the Lord.
We are in the entrenchments yet, and the usual shelling and sharp shooting is going on. There is more or less killed every day somewhere on the line. It is believed that this campaign will hold on all summer. Please write and let me know how you are getting along and how your corn looks. I can inform you that our rations is very short. We draw cornbread most of the time. Tell Grady he must send Paul one kiss.
July the 31st. I can inform you that I am out of another battle safe and unhurt. We had a fight yesterday. It was very unexpected. The enemy, Yankee-like, tunneled under the ground until they got under our breastworks, and they placed tons weight of powder there. Just as daylight on yesterday morning, they blew up 3 companies of the 18th South Carolina Regiment, 1 company of artillerymen, and 3 cannons. It killed nearly every man, and the explosion of the earth confused all men very bad. While they was confused, the Negro troops charged in and took part of the breastworks. Our regiment had to go in and help charge them. The Negro troops fought us brave, but they did not do any good because they had no time to shoot as our men got into the breastworks. Our regiment refused to take them prisoner. I never saw such a slaughter of men in my life. The Negroes laid so thick in our breastwork that a man could hardly walk without even stepping on them. We drove them out. Well, we didn't kill or wound. We lost a good many men. Brother Tillman, wounded in the leg, he's gone to the hospital, and I think he will get a furlough as soon as he can travel.
The powder keg that caused the explosion under the breastworks was called Grant's Mine. When the regiment moved in to support the South Carolina survivors, they were the only soldiers between the Union troops and the city.
Brother Jerry is sick yet. He is laid off, and I'm afraid that he will not get well soon. I have not heard from Tillman since he was sent to the hospital. Everything is still along the lines. The Yankees appear to be quiet since they got a whipping. They acknowledge that they lost 5,000 killed, wounded, or taken prisoner. I hope that they will learn to leave us alone hereafter.
The Richmond-Petersburg campaign was a series of battles fought from June 15, 1864 to April 2, 1865. Known as the Siege of Petersburg, it was not a classic military siege in which a city is surrounded and all supply lines are cut off. This campaign consisted of 9 months of trench warfare.
I have not a good night's rest in a month. We are working a party or a picket or something of the kind nearly every day and night when we're on the breastworks, which we are nearly all of the time. We fear the Grant will try to blow us up again before long.
North Carolina, Haywood County, August 22nd, 1864. Dear husband, I seek myself down to answer the 6 letters I received. The times is hard here. There is fine looking crops of corn, but it is late. I hope it won't get frosty. There is a great deal of wheat in this county. I don't think anybody will suffer for bread. There is no bacon to be got at any price. Beef is $1 a pound. Sheep, $40 a head. Salt, $1 a pound. You can't be got for that. Sole leather, $6 a pound. And cotton yarn from $5 to $6 a bunch. I trust this siege with General Grant will end this war. I hope you will go through this unholy war and return to your loving family in peace with the Yankees and all other men. Now, I must close. Right. Maria Henderson.
Petersburg, Virginia, August the 20th, 1864. Dear wife and child, I seek myself to drop you a few lines. I have not got anything new to write, but that our men and the Yankees have been fighting on our right. We've got orders to move around where they've been.
The next day, the regiment moved to Weldon Railroad between Petersburg and Rheims Station. The Union troops had dug heavy earthen works and felled timber in front of their lines.
I fear we will have some heavy fighting to do ourselves. There has been some of the worst weather that I ever saw. The mud is nearly shoe-mouth deep in the ditches. Swaddled clothes were present. There is nothing more, only I remain your affectionate husband until death. J.M. Henderson.
These were the last letters between James and Maria Henderson. James died August 23, 1864, in the Battle of Weldon Railroad, and was buried in the grounds of the Episcopal Church in Petersburg, Virginia. Notice of his death came by letter from Lieutenant Garland Ferguson.
Over 200 letters were donated to the library by James Edward Henderson, James and Maria's grandson, in November of 1950. As you have heard, the writings of Western North Carolina neighbors give us a unique view of daily life and of a war over 150 years ago. If you have a shoebox, desk drawer, or attic suitcase of letters from a loved one in military service during peace or war, the North Carolina Room would like to add them to the collection.